sure every day is Christmas when we have Olin on, but my God, do we have cold in our stocking this morning. Olin Kreutz joins us now on the Atturo Tire Hotline. Atturo, your hometown tire, Atturo.com. Good morning, Olin. How are you?
I'm doing good. I was thinking why you said that not this morning, right?
Yeah.
This morning is
Not
not
today.
a Christmas
No.
morning, not today.
Not today. No.
Just rewatching that game, guys, man. You go through all the emotions again of it being so bad for so long, but the defense hanging in there, right? Keeping the Bears in the game by being so stout against the number one red zone offense in the NFL. And then come back, Caleb Williams. I was thinking when I was watching, we talked about it last night, I was thinking Ryan Poe's, he was going to be a prophet, right? He was saying that he had to lean on his teammates and then do the special when it was time to do the special. And you guys remember that throw to DeAndre Carter when DJ Moore got hurt. That was a special throw there, right? Before the
sidearm throw.
The sidearm throw. It was really special, man. It's just, and you go through the emotion of, man, they're going to win this game. And then how do you lose on that Hail Mary? And just a failure of discipline and execution. And I heard David put it really well this morning, saying you have to learn how to win in the NFL. You have to learn exactly what that means and exactly paying attention to details during the week when you're walking through. I think someone said Coach Eberflus talked about we walked through that play 1,000 times. He's not lying, guys. I've seen it before. I've watched Hail Marys be walked through. Your job, this is what you do, box him out. This guy has the jumper. This guy's a savior. This guy has the front. So it was just, man, it was just hard to watch. Even again, this morning, going through the game really quickly, just tough to watch them. It's such a gritty performance. I mean, on Keenan Allen's pass interference, guys, I think it was 4th and 3. Karan and Doug Kramer are one-on-one, right? They're in a one-on-one pass rush situation there, and they both win. And it just to see guys play that gutty, that kind of performance, that team fight that long, and then lose that game, as frustrating as it was, it was even more frustrating to watch this morning, that final play.
On the Hail Mary, everyone does have a role to play. I don't think one of those roles includes taunting the crowd with your back to the line of scrimmage when the ball is snapped. Tyreek Stevenson did that. If you're a veteran, if you're a captain in that locker room on that team, Olin, how would you handle this situation?
It's a really good question, right? And I think that we all know how I would have handled this situation, on the airplane or in the locker room. But they have leaders on that team, right? And here's the thing that I immediately think about, guys, when I think about what should happen. What should they do? What should have happened? It should have happened weeks ago, right? The question I have to ask is, the question I would ask Coach Eberflus is, Coach, have we seen any of this before? Have we allowed this kind of behavior for weeks, for months, and then it led to this? Because I see the same guy poking guys in the face, right? I see the same guy doing that, and I think to myself, man, what has he done that you allowed for so long that has led up to the fact that on a Hail Mary play, he's not facing the line of scrimmage? And I know he came out on Twitter and he apologized to everybody for his actions. But my thought immediately when I see something like that, guys, is something's been going on for a while that you haven't nipped in the bud and you haven't taken care of. And I'm just guessing. And to me, really, the punishment should fit that. Is this the first time? Is he a pro every day? Does he work hard? Because, look, he does even make a good play in this game. He's a good football player against Zach Ertz, right? I think it was third down in the end zone, and he pushes the ball out. Good football play. Tyreek Stevenson is a good football player, and you give a little more leeway to a guy who can play the game. But if this has been going on for a while, if he's been late to meetings, if I had to talk to him too many times, and now this happened, then the punishment has to fit the crime.
It's a great point, Olin. I thought the takeaway you had yesterday, when you watch Caleb Williams play not a very good football game, but then he gets to the fourth quarter, and as you say, time to do the special, and the guy leads you to a touchdown with 30 seconds left, despite one of the worst calls I've seen on third down, 3rd and 5, and they do a quarterback draw, and he gets clobbered. Then he comes back on 4th and 3, you get the pass interference penalty. Then you finally score the touchdown. To lose that moment for that kid in his homecoming, all the rest of it. That's one of the sickest things that came out of the end of that game.
Yes, and like you're talking about, we talked about going to the game, going home. Would he feel some of the nerves, right? It should look like it, right? He missed a lot of balls early on. Remember the slide on 32, right? Lule could have got the first down in the first quarter, and he slid on 32. Just not a good game by Caleb. I thought they should have took him out of that checking. He was going one-on-one with Bobby Wagner, who's about 52 years old, so he knows what you're saying out there on the football field. But I know what they're thinking there, right? They're thinking we're gonna go for 2 downs anyway. So I think that was a sweep to Caleb Williams down there, and then the 4th and 3. And then you're right, I didn't like that call either. But when you're talking about what do you take out of this game, right? What do you take out of the positive out of this game, the game that you lost? It's that you had a quarterback making plays, making throws, leading you down the field, late in the game, doing the special. And guys, go through all the games because I did it today. I'm not going to bore the listeners, but he's done it a lot now. He did it against the Titans at the end of the first half. He got a field goal. Against Houston at the end of the first half, he got a field goal. He let him down late in the game. He got a touchdown, right? Against Indy, he let him down. He got a touchdown. The defense didn't give him the ball back. He got a field goal at the end of halves, guys. At the end of games, if you go through every one of the Bears games, Caleb Williams is doing the things we talk about that quarterbacks have to do to win football games. He's elevating his teammates. They talk about him being a multiplier. Guys, look at the offensive line he had on the field at the end of that football game against Washington. DJ Moore is hurt on the sideline. I just told you about how he threw the ball to DeAndre Carter. Against the Panthers with 55 seconds left, 5 plays, 65 yards, a touchdown in the first half, right? Against the Jaguars, same thing, touchdown, first half. Against the Washington, he brings them down at the end of the game. He scores. You guys, you go through every game at the critical moments. We talk about 2 for 1. You got to score at the end of halves, and you got to score at the end of the game. And that falls on a quarterback and his arm and his ability to make plays in the pocket. I'm telling you guys, if you go through the games again, if you go through all of the Chicago Bears games, every game he's made a play in those situations. He's had drives to score points. So the Chicago Bears, if you're talking about what do you take positive out of this football game, if you go back and look at what they've done, at what Caleb Williams has done, and what Ryan Poles has called doing the special, guys, they have that going on right now. They got to get that Hail Mary fixed, and they got to get it fixed during the game. We got to start a little earlier. We got to score points. We got to get the ball moving. Can't let them move the ball up and down the field, even though you kept them out of the end zone. But if you're talking about what we've been talking about for years around here, that we need a quarterback in critical situations to make plays. This guy, Caleb Williams, now, he has done that to start this season.
This segment with Olin Kreutz sponsored by Fireplace and Chimney Authority. Visit online or their Elmhurst and Lisle showrooms. Well, a special quarterback needs a competent play caller, and I'm not sure he has one of those after yesterday, Olin. It might be time to reconvene the leadership council because Shane Waldren needs an intervention. Yesterday, handing the ball to Doug Kramer was inexcusable, and I don't know how you respond to that. I don't know if you take away play calling duties. I don't know if you're Eberflus what you do now, but I just think there's no confidence in Shane Waldren. The Colts example, speed option on 4th and goal, you lose 12. Now yesterday, in big moments, he is cowering, or he's being too cute. He's not getting it done. What would you do about the offensive play caller?
Yeah, and that Colts example, right, is another example of Caleb Williams in a critical situation, putting together a great drive. What do I do with the play caller? David, I know what you're saying. In critical situations, man, that head coach is on the headset too, right? He hears the play get called. You have to step in there and say, no. Let's get the ball to Roschon Johnson behind Darnell Wright, who I thought played a good football game, who also made a big-time block to take the lead. Right now, I wouldn't overreact. I understand what you're saying. I know Shane Waldren has had some moments this year, man. We're talking about the handle to Doug Kramer. You talked about the option, talked about the run. We've said many a times, there are less elite play callers in the NFL than there are elite quarterbacks. They are hard to find. I don't think Shane Waldren has got his play calling sheet taken away yet, David. Not yet. But there is some frustrating calls in there right now. And Coach Eberflus has to be the leader they pay him to be. And he's got to step in. He's got to get that Hail Mary corrected. He's got to get some of his play calling corrected. This team, all of them, everybody in that building, from the top to the bottom, I talked about it too much. It's learning how to win football games. We talked about on the pre and post game show yesterday that I became a worse football player when I learned how to win football games, right? Because I got older, but I knew how important walkthroughs were. I knew how important the details were in critical situations. I knew that sometimes I could go to Ron Turner, Harry Heastam, Mike Martz, Mike Tice, John Shute. I knew I could go to them sometimes and say, that handoff to Doug Kramer. Let's talk about that a little bit. When do we plan to use that play right there? Because this is not a good play call right now. There's a lot there. They were talking about details, right? The handoff was quick. You heard Tony Romo talk about how Caleb's got to stay there. Now, I look. It goes through all of it, right? That situation, don't even put them in that situation. But if they do, if they say, we trust this quarterback, we trust this player, everybody's getting paid on this football field, execute the handoff, get the ball in the end zone. It just goes through everybody doing those things. But I wouldn't take away his play calling duties just yet. You don't want that young quarterback going through that situation right now.
And I think it's difficult to maintain any perspective on this stuff this morning because they had won 3 games in a row, right? And they were a hair away from making it a 4-game winning streak, which is hard to do in the NFL. And instead, they find a way to lose that game. And again, they found a way to win it. It wasn't a game they really earned, but they were leading, and then you lose in this heartbreaking fashion. And it's almost like you're a punchline around the league. Like you look at everybody.
This morning?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
no
absolutely.
question about it.
Yeah.
And then, as you said yesterday, you can't let that loss have you go to Arizona and lose again. And they got to figure out a way to win on the road, and they need to be as focused in this game as they're going to be, especially if anything's wrong with Montez Sweat, if their offensive line is as beaten up as it is. It's frightening stuff. It's a real key point in the season.
Yeah, they come out of that game beat up, right? Tevin Jenkins, Braxton Jones, Montez Sweat. They already were missing Kyler Gordon. They are missing Jaquan Brisker. Those are a lot of guys, a lot of high-level football players to miss, right, and then fly across to Arizona. We know that's a hard flight. There's a time change. Although the Bears fans do travel to Arizona, you can turn that field into a home game for yourself if you get there and you jump on them early and you get a good win. Kyler Murray, it's going to be a fun game to watch him versus Caleb Williams. But like you're saying, and I talked about yesterday on the post-game show, my 2 boys play for Illinois. They got beat up pretty bad by Oregon. And I thought Coach Bielema said a great thing after the game. He said, we can't let Oregon beat us twice. And that's exactly what the Bears are going through right now, Mully, after a loss like that, right? After those emotions. But immediately you think about, okay, how do we get this thing turned around, put on the tracks, moving in the right direction? Tyreek Stevenson, I thought, took a step. I thought he took a step by apologizing to his fans, apologizing to everybody, taking the blame. And look, I'd like to see the guy who was supposed to be the savior take the blame and say, I was supposed to do that. I was coached to do it, and I didn't. Guys got to stand up. Leaders got to stand up. I remember sometimes, guys, being in the locker room. We get stopped on 4th and 1. I didn't miss my block. Guess what I said? That 4th and 1 was my fault. I got to make my block. I got to do my job there. And that's just telling everybody, this is the attitude we take. Don't point fingers. Don't try to decide on what you're going to do and what you're not going to do and whose fault it was. Just worry about what the hell you got to correct. Get what you got to get corrected. And then as the week inches on, guys, Wednesday, Thursday, you start to whisper to everybody, how about our quarterback, man? How about the plays he makes late in games? All right, how about our defense in the red zone, holding on versus the number 1 red zone offense? How about all the good things we did do after you let the loss marinate for a little while? You start to point out how good of a football team you are. We still have a winning record. We're still right where we need to be. And more importantly, like I told you guys, we have a quarterback doing special things at the end of halves and at the end of games. And that guys, like is critical to winning in the NFL.
That's a great perspective. It really is. And I think that's the right way the Bears have to approach today and the rest of the week, Olin, especially with the long trip ahead. I want to ask you about the offensive line. We've had to see Karan Amagaji forced into action, and he was overmatched on certain plays. I wondered what you saw in terms of how they might have been able to help him or what they do now moving forward, depending on Braxton Jones's injury, and also address the uncomfortable situation they might be in and having to appeal to Nate Davis now that they need him to play, get over whatever is keeping him back, and be a professional.
Yeah, it's a crazy business, man. Sometimes you walk in there and no one's talking to you, and all of a sudden they need you and they're friendly again in the morning, right? But there's just not a lot of good offense line, especially when you start to lose guys in the NFL. I always tell people there's not a lot of guys who block people. As far as Karan goes, struggled with his kick step a little bit yesterday. By that I mean getting back off the line of scrimmage, pushing through his right leg. Looked like he was kind of shoveling his left foot under him. I don't want to get into all this technique stuff for offensive line play, but he struggled like you thought a guy might, who came off an injury to get in the game. He did have that big block on Swift's run, did a nice job in the run game. I will say this. You do see why they drafted him. You do see the length. You do see the height, and you do see the size, and you do see the power that he puts on film. And he did win some of his pass throws, not against, the Commanders don't have any elite pass rushers, but, to put Doug Kramer in there at left guard, you've gone through your injuries, and that's where Nate Davis not doing the things he's supposed to be doing, right? We're talking about Tyreek Stevenson. What should they do with him? Well, same thing with Nate Davis, right? They have a few guys in there not doing what they're supposed to be doing. He should have a jersey on. He should be up. He should be in the game right away when you have those kind of injuries and you see Murray walk out there. Tevin Jenkins got hurt on the fourth and was it the 3rd and 1? On Doug Kramer's play by the end zone, he got hurt. He got bent over backwards. And then Braxton Jones actually got hurt on the 4th and 1 that DJ Moore didn't get. So those plays are not only bad play calls, maybe you lose 2 offensive linemen on those plays too. So Larry Borum, hopefully he's getting healthy. Bates, hopefully he's getting healthy. Hopefully you get those guys in the mix and then find yourself an offensive line that you can take on the road and win a football game. Because I'll be honest with you start to lose guys. Any team loses guys on their offensive line. It's hard to find.
You talked yesterday, and I thought it was just an excellent point, the idea that when we talk about winning on the road, it's a lot of small things. It's a lot of the little details that you have to get right. And you wondered if there are veteran players that are doing the things that you would do in terms of if you see a guy that isn't paying attention or is kind of goofing around in the walkthrough, hey, what were you told to do on that play? Are you listening to what? I hope that that's going on. And that's the thing that you worry about when you think of a guy like Tyreek Stevenson.
It's a great point. And it's something I also had to learn. And I don't think I really learned it into my 8th or 9th year in the NFL, just how to win games and how to lead in those situations. I remember Harry Heastand telling me one time, you guys all know Harry Heastand, probably the best offensive line coach in the world. He told me one time, he said, Olin, you like to play around all the time and you do your job, but it affects everybody else, right? I did like to laugh and joke, and then you guys knew me when I played and really, really harass anybody I could harass at any moment I could. But, Harry pointed out to me that while I was doing that, not everybody could concentrate and do that at the same time, right? So as a leader, you start to learn those things and you start to watch guys like, when they're installing a play that we might have to execute at a critical situation in the game, and you're watching to make sure guys are paying attention, taking that in. They don't look too sleepy. They're hearing the details. And then you go up, if you don't think so, you go up to them and ask them and say, hey, man, did you hear what we're talking about there? You know what to do in that situation. You know what you're doing, because those little walkthroughs there, Pat Manley had a great point, right? Only the ones get that walkthrough. Only the ones get the Hail Mary walkthrough, and they had backups in the game that day. So how many times were those guys on the field? So just a lot of things go on in that situation that's what I'm talking about. When people say, I know it sounds crazy that people talk about leadership, it's hard to define. People talk about culture, it's hard to define. People talk about the details. How do you win games? Learning how to win. It's hard to define. I'm defining it for you right now. It's Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Listening in meetings, doing all the little things right, seeing the game, how you fit in the game, what you're supposed to do in critical situations, and how you actually win football games in the NFL. It really is that simple. It's just that hard to do, to pay attention every day early in the week.
This segment with Olin Kreutz, sponsored by Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868. Thank you, Olin. Great stuff.
Thanks, Olin. Good stuff.
Appreciate it, guys. Yep.